You meet someone for the first time, a stranger, maybe at a coffee shop, maybe in a job interview, maybe just a face that scrolls past on a screen. And before they even say a word, your brain has already decided something about them. Trustworthy, dangerous, friendly, cold. You did this in less than 1/10 of a second. You didn't choose it. You didn't think it through. It just happened. And the strange part is, you have no idea why. Most people assume trust is built slowly, through time, through conversation, through shared experience. But the real answer is far stranger. Trust isn't built, it's triggered. And the trigger fires almost instantly, long before your conscious mind has caught up. Think about the last time you swiped through a dating app, or scrolled past a stranger's profile photo, or walked into a room full of people you'd never met. In each case, your brain ran a calculation: friend or threat, safe or unsafe. It happened faster than you could blink. Why would evolution build something so fast, so automatic, and so completely outside your control? To understand it, you have to go back, not centuries, tens of thousands of years. Back to a time when meeting a stranger wasn't a social inconvenience. It was a survival decision. Picture an early human standing at the edge of their camp. A figure approaches from the tree line. There's no time for conversation, no time to build rapport over several encounters. There's only one question that matters. Is this person going to help me or hurt me? Get it wrong in one direction, and you might be exploited, robbed, or killed. Get it wrong in the other direction, and you might miss out on an alliance, a trade, a mate, a friend. Either mistake could cost you everything, so the brain evolved a shortcut. A fast, automatic system for reading faces and making snap judgments about intent. Researchers call this process face-based trait inference, and one of the scientists who mapped it most precisely is Alexander Todorov, a psychologist at Princeton. Todorov ran experiments where people were shown faces for just a fraction of a second, sometimes as little as 1/10 of 1 second. And still, participants confidently rated each face as trustworthy or untrustworthy, dominant or weak, competent or incompetent. Here's the unsettling part. Those snap judgments had almost nothing to do with the actual person. They had everything to do with the shape of the face itself. Faces with wider cheekbones, thicker brows, and more pronounced jawlines tend to get rated as more dominant. Faces with softer, rounder features, with eyes set slightly wider and eyebrows angled upward, tend to get rated as more trustworthy. None of this reflects anything about the person's actual character. It reflects something far older. A pattern recognition system built to react to shape and structure, not truth. Why would your brain trust a shape? Because for most of human history, there was no other information available. No background checks, no social media history, no mutual friends to vouch for someone. Just a face, in the moment, and a decision that had to be made immediately. The brain didn't evolve to be accurate. It evolved to be fast. This is where the story gets stranger. Todorov's research found something even more surprising. The areas of your brain responsible for these snap judgments fire before your conscious reasoning has a chance to weigh in. The amygdala, a small structure deep in your brain associated with emotional processing and threat detection, activates almost instantly in response to a face. It responds to subtle cues, eye shape, eyebrow angle, the width between the eyes. All before you've had a single conscious thought about who this person might be. You're not making a decision. Your brain is making it for you. And then it hands you the feeling afterward, dressed up as your own opinion. Have you ever met someone and just had a bad feeling about them with no clear reason why? That feeling wasn't random. It was your ancestral threat detection system pattern matching their face against thousands of years of inherited shortcuts. But here's the twist nobody expects. These snap judgments are wrong far more often than you think. In a landmark study, researchers tested whether people could accurately judge trustworthiness, honesty, or criminal intent from a face alone. The results were almost embarrassing for human intuition. Across multiple studies, people's confidence in their snap judgments of strangers was consistently higher than their actual accuracy. People felt certain. They were often wrong. The feeling of "I can just tell" turned out to be one of the least reliable signals available, and yet one of the most powerful in shaping real-world decisions, from hiring choices to jury verdicts to first dates. Let that sink in for a moment. The system in your brain responsible for deciding who to trust, the system that fires before logic even gets a vote, is not particularly good at its job. It's fast, it's confident, it is not accurate. So why hasn't evolution fixed this by now? Because for most of human history, it didn't need to be perfect. It only needed to be fast enough, often enough, to keep you alive in small tribal groups where you actually knew most of the people you encountered. Strangers were rare. When they did appear, a quick judgment, even an imperfect one, was better than freezing in uncertainty. The cost of hesitation could be death. The cost of a wrong snap judgment in a small world of repeated interactions could often be corrected over time. But you don't live in that world anymore. Today, you encounter more strangers in a single afternoon than your ancestors might have encountered in a lifetime. Faces on screens, faces in interviews, faces of coworkers, delivery drivers, dating matches, online sellers. Your ancient trust system, built for a world of dozens of familiar faces, is now running on overdrive in a world of millions of unfamiliar ones. And it has no idea it's outdated. This mismatch has consequences. Studies on hiring have found that interviewers often form an impression of a candidate within the first few seconds, based largely on facial features and nonverbal cues, and that impression frequently shapes the entire interview that follows, regardless of the candidate's actual answers. Studies on criminal sentencing have found troubling correlations between perceived facial trustworthiness and harsher or lighter outcomes in court. None of this is about character. It's about the shape of a face and a brain that still thinks it's reading a tribe member instead of a stranger in a system built on data the ancient mind never evolved to handle. Here's the part that should change how you think about every first impression you've ever had. You are constantly building relationships, making decisions, forming entire narratives about people based on an evolutionary leftover that was built to triage life or death encounters in small groups of familiar faces. It was never built to evaluate billions of strangers. It was never built for resumes, profile photos, or video calls. It was built for survival in a world that no longer exists. And yet you trust it completely. You call it instinct. You call it a gut feeling. You say things like, "I just got a vibe." What you're actually describing is a 40,000-year-old threat detection algorithm, repurposed for a world it was never designed to navigate. So what do you do with this? You don't have to ignore your instincts entirely. They still carry information, even if imperfect. But you can start to notice the moment they fire, the instant judgment, the unexplained pull toward or away from someone. And instead of treating it as truth, you can treat it as a signal, a hint, a starting point, not a verdict. Because the next time you meet a stranger, and your brain instantly decides whether to trust them, you're not really judging them at all. You're running an ancient survival script built for a world of campfires and small tribes on a face it has never actually seen before. The decision feels personal. It feels like insight, but it's just old code, running fast, doing its best with information it was never built to interpret. And maybe the most useful thing you can do the next time that feeling shows up, uninvited and certain of itself, is pause. Just long enough to ask whether you're really seeing the person in front of you or just reacting to the shape of a face your ancestors learned to fear or trust a very long time ago.